If you don't get a film with A24, is your film dead? The answer is no. In this video, I'm going to show you how to self-distribute your feature film in 2026 using a modern strategy that gives you control, keeps your rights intact, and allows you to generate real revenue across multiple revenue streams. Because yes, a great deal with A24, Neon, Mubi, it's what we all want. But most filmmakers won't get those deals. And if your film doesn't get picked up, or the deals that you're offered just aren't attractive enough, it doesn't mean you failed and that there's no other way for your film to be distributed. It just means that you need a different playbook. And that's what this video is going to give you. If you don't know who I am, my name's Alexi Uzas. I'm a film producer. I've produced or EP'd over 12 feature films and mentored over 100 filmmakers. Now, unfortunately, most filmmakers have never actually seen this side of the business, particularly when they're starting out. And so distribution feels a bit mysterious, right? It can feel complicated, even a little bit intimidating, because you're so focused on production that this side you've never really dealt with. And so when the traditional deal doesn't come through, it's easy to panic and just like throw your film up on iTunes or like through Film Hub onto like a bunch of different digital platforms. But that's not a strategy. And there is a better strategy that you can use that is lean and agile. And that's what I want to show you, right? You build your audience, you sell your film in little pieces, and you keep all of the upside. And this works especially well for lower budget films because it's easier to recoup through this type of distribution, but it can be applied at any level if needed. So if you don't land a top tier deal, here's the alternative, right? This is a 2026 self-distribution roadmap. So let's go through it. Step one, I hate to say this, but you have to build an audience, right? It can be it's just so beneficial. There's so much upside to it that I don't think it's optional anymore, right? If you're not building an email list, a YouTube channel, and some sort of niche audience around your genre or your themes while you're developing the film, then you're giving up your biggest leverage point. And on the flip side, if you do those things, you're just starting in a much better place. Now, you don't need 1 million followers, though having 38 million followers does help. But you can start with just a small dedicated group of fans, right? So people who are going to attend a screening, they're going to share your trailer, they're going to buy a ticket, they're going to spread the word. And the earlier you start, the more powerful this becomes. So don't sleep on it. And I do think a personal brand is the best way to do this. Don't worry about trying to start like a business brand. They don't work as well. And same with don't try and do it for each film because then you don't have any compounding. So focus on a personal brand. And we all know the power of this now after seeing the massive success of the film Iron Lung, right? So we just want to replicate that on whatever scale we can. Now, step two, let's get into the nitty gritty. Use festivals as leverage, right? So festivals still matter. They build credibility, they attract press, they open conversations with other programmers or distributors or sales agents, but they don't actually sell your film, right? So before you premiere your film, wherever it is, you want to have a publicist who has some festival experience. You want to have your trailer, your press kit ready to go. And you do want to have a sales agent or at least someone who's fielding interest. Now, that can be you. That's what I've done in the past. But you just want to make sure that someone on the team is dedicated to fielding interest about the film. What you don't want to do is just like get into the festival and then wait for the festival to do the work because there's so many other films that are playing there. You need someone focused on yours. And here's the thing that a lot of filmmakers don't know, because I didn't know this until I got into distribution, is you're actually entitled to a screening fee or a percentage of the ticket sales at festivals. And for whatever reason, most festivals sometimes won't just volunteer that information up. So you need to ask. So ask. Make sure if your film gets into a festival, you see if they offer screening fees and you lock those in before the film actually screens. It can be a really good way to get some early revenue in. Step three, we're going to jump ahead here a little bit. So what we want to do in step three is actually sell it to a streamer before we go any further. So immediately after you secure a strong premiere, try and land an SVOD deal. Try and sell it to a streamer. So it could be a national streaming platform, like maybe it's your local Netflix office. Maybe it's a niche platform if your film is in a particular genre, like if it's horror shutter. you want to do those things because it does two things for you. It generates upfront revenue, it locks in some revenue, and it gives you certainty that the film's going to at least receive some revenue and get some sort of release, right? Now, if you can lock in that deal, you can also use that fee, that licensing fee, to fund your P&A for your theatrical or through your event screenings, which I'll take you through in a second. Now, if you don't have contacts to go and pitch to SVOD platforms, my tip would be to speak with a producer who's actually done those deals before and see if they want to be cut in on the deal for providing the introduction. And importantly, you're not going to get paid that fee up front. So you may, if you can lock in an agreement, you can take that agreement to a film finance company and you can borrow that money to cash flow it in and use it for the release. So step 4 then is to actually start locking in event style screenings. So this is where indie filmmakers can make some decent money, right? So if you can start booking 50 to 150 seat cinemas, pack them, sell them out, host a Q&A, bring the cast along, the director, film the audience, create a bit of FOMO around it, then just do it again, right? So instead of thinking of it like a traditional release, you start thinking of it more like a music tour. The problem with locking in a traditional release, and I've done this on my own films, is that without the marketing spend, without a real big P&A behind it, your opening weekend isn't that strong, and then cinemas start taking it off their screening immediately. So if you're doing it by events, you can kind of just go by the demand that you have. So I know filmmakers that have made like over 50K in box office from this. So you can bring in some decent revenue. And of course, if tickets are still selling, you just keep the tour going. You just keep filling that demand. And so I think that's a better way to do it if you're self-distributing it. And again, this is why, because the revenue's smaller, this is why this works better on smaller films where you don't have a huge hurdle to get in terms of box office and revenue. So step 5 is start selling it by territory. So you can attach a good sales agent, ideally one who knows your genre. That's like the preferred route, I think. But you can also go direct, right? If you don't want to give it to if you don't want to give your global rights away to a sales agent, you can go and sell it piece by piece. Or maybe you don't get, you get a bunch of deals, but none of them are that attractive. So this is what I did on my second film, West of Sunshine. I basically took on the role of a sales agent. I sold it to the US, to China. It does require a lot more hustle, a lot of cold outreach, a lot of follow-up. So you've got to be prepared to do all that. But it is possible. And territory by territory sales can outperform a global deal if those deals aren't that attractive to begin with, right? If you're getting offered really small MGs or maybe no MGs, you might be better off at exploring doing it yourself. So step 6 is selling to airline rights. So this is actually one of the most overlooked revenue streams in indie film, and I think it's one of the best because airlines buy like non-exclusive, non-theatrical rights for their in-flight entertainment, and you can license to multiple airlines, and it's just B2B deals that you're doing, right? So from experience, I've sold films for between 10K to 30K USD per airline. And so on some films, there's multiple airlines. So it's a really good money maker. It's not glamorous, but it's real money. Again, you can find an agent who will do this because, you're probably not going to have relationships with all these airline buyers. But there are companies out there who will go and sell your film on your behalf. They take a clip, but it's totally worth it. And then the last step is actually VOD. So, TVOD like iTunes, Amazon, Vimeo, AVOD, Tubi, YouTube, all those sorts of stuff. But by the time you go wide on these platforms, you should really ideally have premiered at a festival. You've run your event tours, you've licensed a streamer, right? So you've already done that deal. Because when you license to a streamer, they're not going to put it on for like 6 months. So you've got all this runway to do all these other things. Ideally, you've sold it to international territories, you've sold some airline rights. And so now TVOD is just your long tail, right? AVOD is a bit of passive revenue that you can build in. You can also create a premium TVOD window between your theatrical and SVOD. So again, because you've got a long lead-in time with your SVOD deal, you can then put the digital premium release in between that. But that's why it's good to line up that SVOD deal first because you've got it and it gives you that revenue certainty. You can use that money for the release to market the film and then put all these layers together. So that's why you don't want to just launch digital first because there's all these other revenue streams and that's the new distribution strategy. So it's having that audience to begin with, getting into a festival, using that to build credibility, selling to the streamer early, such an important one if you can do it. Running your events, right? Your tour, getting some foreign sales in, selling it to airlines, and then using digital as that long tail. So if you can stack those things up, this is how you keep your rights. You can obviously keep building your fan base through this entire release, and you own the upside, and you can generate some decent money. Now, again, the key is to not have, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to try and recoup, because that's going to be very hard, again, unless you have like that $38 million followers. So if you found this useful, subscribe, because I do break down the business of filmmaking every week, and I'll see you on the next one.